Hello, my name is Heather Manhart, and I will be your instructor for the course entitled Elementary Statistics. The course number is Math 160. Currently, it is the spring of 2018, and I do teach two sections of statistics here at Campbell. The purpose of the video is for a course orientation so that all students are very much familiar with the course syllabus as well as their Blackboard course and their MyStatLab course. It's very important to know the class policies and procedures, how you are evaluated. It's very important to know what types of materials I provide throughout your Blackboard course and your MyStatLab course. I am going to go to the actual hard copy of the syllabus. On the very first day of class, I provide my students with a hard copy of the syllabus. For this particular spring of 2018, this is your syllabus. It does consist of several pages. All of the items are important. Some of the items I will be stressing in this particular video. Obviously, very important information is to know your instructor and where your instructor is located, where your instructor holds his or her, in this case, my office hours, and to also know which section of stats you belong to. Please make sure that you read important statements like the University Christian Mission Statement. I wholeheartedly support the Christian mission of Campbell University. And I pray that it's evident in the classes and the courses that I teach here at Campbell. For the second page of the syllabus, basically course learning outcomes are listed. I will allow you to read those when you have the opportunity to read those. These are the types of items that we will learn this semester. Available office hours are stated on page 3. Basically, I have 4 office hours on Mondays, one at 10, one at 12, one at 1, and one at 2 p.m. I have an additional office hour on Wednesday at 10 and Friday at 10. 6 office hours altogether. If you cannot make the office hour for help, please send an email, make an appointment, and we will work together at another time. We will communicate through the email so that we can come up with an opportunity for us to be able to meet in my office. You can be guaranteed to be able to get in touch with me through email, through office phone, and these are the times. I always respond to emails. I may not have the answer that you're looking for, but I do respond and let you know that I know you contacted me. Expectations for the course. Again, I expect you to do your very, very best. Expectation for replies. Please use your Campbell University email to communicate with me, not your own personal email. On the very first page of the syllabus, please make sure that you're using the correct email address for me and that you are spelling my last name correctly. If you use another email for me, you're going to send your emails to the wrong teacher, and I will never see those. One way that you will know that your emails are not getting through to me, which means you're using the wrong address, if you see that I'm not replying to your emails, because I always reply, then you know something is wrong somewhere, somehow. So we need to maybe speak in class about the issue. But this is the email address that you're going to want to use. And I ask of you to also use your campus email. The textbook is Elementary Stats, Picturing the World, 6th edition by Pearson. MyStatLab is mandatory. If you do not have any plans whatsoever to purchase MyStatLab, I ask you to drop my class. I do not mean to sound harsh, but it is a very important component of your grade. And without having MyStatLab, you will do very poorly in the class. I will also expect you to bring a smart device of your choice to class, as long as you know how to work your smartphone or your iPad or your laptop, and that the cookies and the pop-ups are adjusted so that you can take attendance with your smart device, and you can also take pop quizzes. The pop quizzes will be provided through My Stat Lab, which comes with your particular textbook. I do want to say that if you, the student, wishes to just purchase the access code to My Stat Lab, I am okay with that as your teacher. The My Stat Lab access code, once you're in that course, registered with me as my student, you will have access to the electronic version of the textbook. So purchasing the hard copy of the textbook is not mandatory. However, in the classroom during class lecture portion of the class, I do not allow these smart devices. They have to be put away. That means that you're not going to be able to use your device and access your e-textbook within the classroom during actual class lecture. So if you feel like, and I do use the textbook, that you're going to need it during the lecture, you will need to buy a hard copy or a loose leaf version of the textbook from the campus bookstore or wherever you decide to buy your textbook. But the access code is mandatory for the course. You will very quickly see that it's going to be 20% of your grade, and then another 15% of your grade will come from the pop quizzes, and that means 35% of your grade is going to come from being active within your My Stat Lab course and coming to class and taking those quizzes. Now that I've introduced the document camera, this is my primary way of lecture within the classroom. I am going to turn away from the document camera. I'm still going to review the syllabus with you and go over very important items starting on page 4. But since I'm able to conduct this lecture video and I am able to convert over to the actual computer, I can open up the course syllabus from your Blackboard course. If you are currently registered as my student from the registrar's office, you are in this course if you're in section 1. Obviously, if you are in section 4, then your home page is going to look as very similar, but it is going to look this way. If you're registered in section 4, there's your home page. If you are hoping to add the course the very first day of class, that means you're not technically in my class, therefore you do not have access to these items. I strongly encourage you, if your paperwork is signed by me and I decide to add you to the class the very first day of class or during the drop add period on Friday, that you turn your paperwork in immediately to the registrar's office. So the registrar's office can actually take that paperwork and add you officially to the course. That way, hopefully, by the next couple of class periods, you will be able to see what other students in the class are seeing. At that point, it's a great idea once you're in Blackboard to go ahead and start with your course orientation. And for the purpose of the orientation video and the description of what's available in Blackboard and My Stat Lab, I am going to go back to my Section 1 course of Math 160. So this means that once you are officially registered for my course, my student in this particular class, Math 160, you will be able to see, obviously, your Blackboard course. The home page has my announcements, and I've already emailed everybody that's in the class a welcome announcement. I'm basically saying that I'm very happy to have you in class. If you are not currently in this course, you did not receive the email. Once you are in the course, you can see any emails that you may have missed here under course announcements. Orientation is probably the very first button you're going to want to visit as a student registered in your Blackboard course. It basically tells you how to register for your MyStatLab course. If you are in Section 1 this semester, every student has the same course code. You will purchase an access code, MyStatLab, and you will also need that particular code. So 2 codes you will need to register. I have a registration handout. I also give it to you on the very first day of class if you need help registering. Other items available under this particular button, I have a video from Pearson that shows you how to register. I also have course links to your MyStatLab button and your pre-lecture pre-lecture notebook button. And those 2 buttons are here. You can go to those particular course links here by clicking, or you can just go to the corresponding button here and here. I'm not ready to visit MyStatLab at this particular point in time. I just wanted to show you what is under course orientation. There is going to be an assignment in MyStatLab once you're registered so that you can take the very first assignment called course orientation. Before I go into MyStatLab, I am going to go to the course document button and open up the syllabus and pick up with page number 4. Here I have the syllabus that I give you on the first day. I give you an agenda, and this agenda ties everything together, what you should be doing outside of the classroom, what you can be doing to prepare for class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, to prepare for your test. I have a grade checklist. I give that to you on the first day as a hard copy. So basically all of the items that you see here, final exam schedule, all of these items under this button are given to you on the very first day of class as a hard copy. So if you lose your hard copy, you can find those items here. I'm going to open up the syllabus. And I basically just clicked on the file to see that. And then it asked me to open my download. If you right click on the syllabus, you could open in a new window. It's completely up to you. And this is the syllabus. I believe with the document camera, we stopped and I accidentally closed out the syllabus. This time I did do a right click and I opened the syllabus in a new window. Now very carefully I will try my very best not to close out of the syllabus. Okay, so scrolling down to page 4, this is where we stopped. It talks about the type of calculator you're allowed to have in the classroom, TI 8384, responsibilities of the student, responsibility of me, your instructor. This is very important, the course evaluation. I'm going to give you 4 major tests, and that's going to be 65% of your final grade. I will be giving you a total of 18 MyStatLab assignments, and that's going to be 20% of your final grade. Then I will also give you an undetermined number of pop quizzes inside of the classroom, and they're called learning catalytics. I also may, from time to time, but it's very rare, give a pop quiz on paper. All of your pop quizzes, which are unannounced, are 15%. This is called a weighted average. All of the percentages will add up to be 100% as they should. So to be clear, MyStatLab and the Learning Catalytics all come from purchasing MyStatLab. and being active, and that's 35% of your grade. The 4 tests will be taken inside of the classroom, and they will be multiple choice, and you will need a Scantron, and we'll talk more about that as we approach the first test of the semester. I do not give makeup tests in general unless you miss a major test for a very important reason and you have valid documentation from Campbell University, a doctor, a lawyer, etc. It does have to be valid. Then I will work with a student to make up a major test. Valid documentation. If you are sick, you need to go to urgent care, Campbell University Health Clinic, and I say if you're sick and you miss a major test, I need documentation from a valid source to make up a major test. Athletes, I'll have your letters, I hope, and you will be allowed to make up major tests. We will communicate ahead of time, of course. If you know you're going to miss a major test, communication is very, very important. Again, valid documentation. So if you're sick and you miss a test, an email to me just saying that you're sick and you missed your test is not going to be documentation. Maybe you don't feel well enough to go to the Campbell University Health Center or clinic, or maybe it's on the weekend, but you should go somewhere to be able to give me documentation so that you can make up the major test. Now, if it's a regular class day and we just have lecture and you are absent, I do not necessarily need documentation, because with regular class periods that you miss lectures, I do not have make up my stat lab assignments whatsoever for anybody for any reason. I will drop the 2 lowest at the very end of the semester. Remember, I have 18 grades. Pop quizzes cannot be made up at all. So there's documentation, valid or not. You cannot make up my stat lab assignments. You cannot make up a missed pop quiz. In both categories, I promise 2 of the lowest to be dropped at the end of the semester. Again, my stat lab 20%, pop quizzes 15%. At the end of the semester, when I decide at the end of the semester when I issue final grades, I may, and oftentimes I do decide to drop more than promised. I do not guarantee dropping anything but the lowest 2. And I can actually stick with that. But sometimes, if I've given a lot of LCs or pop quizzes in the class, I will indeed drop more. I will never tell you how many I drop along the way. I make that decision when we are no longer meeting together and I'm in my office writing out final grades. That is when I make my decision how many I really want to drop, or if I want to keep it like the syllabus says, 2 and 2. So you're only promised 2. You're only promised 2 from each category, and no makeups. One of the main reasons I do not allow makeups with my stat lab assignments, they are actually going to be available for a number of weeks. For example, the first 4, which are due February the 6th, which is the day of your first test, they are due online by 8 o'clock in the morning by every student in my courses, both courses of stats. And then those will turn off and you'll no longer see those. And these next 4 will turn on. They'll be available and you can complete those, but you'll have several weeks to finish those before second test, February 27th. Submit online by 8 o'clock. If you have not worked on those, you'll receive zeros. No makeups. So this is repetitive. I give 4 tests. Every time I give a test, new My Stat Lab assignments become available and old ones turn off. And you can see those dates here. For your very last test number 4, test number 4 is given during final exam week. You can see your final exam calendar. If you are in my Section 1 class, which means you meet from 11 to 12:20, you have yours Tuesday, May the 1st from 3 to 4:30. And if you are in my Section 4 class, 12:30 to 1:50, you also have yours Tuesday, May the 1st, 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. This very same classroom, 146 classroom. And again, we'll speak more about that as we approach the final, which will be here soon. Now, the last round of my Stat Lab assignments are going to be due before final exam week, reading day, April 26, 8 a.m. You do not have until the end of reading day. They are due at the beginning of reading day, 8 a.m. And if you do not submit those by that time, you will receive zeros in all of these areas. So be very cautious and make sure you are submitting your assignments on time. The good news is I've given you unlimited attempts to make very good grades on these assignments. I must say, though, that anything that is graded, part of your final grade in this course, you cannot take to a tutor. You cannot work with your classmates, your roommate, your mother, your father, your cousin. The only person that you can work with in terms of graded assignments as these would be me, your instructor. Please adhere to the academic honesty of Campbell University. Obviously, there are penalties for academic misconduct, and some of those are stated here in the syllabus. The attendance policy is very strict here. For a Tuesday, Thursday class that meets 1 hour and 20 minutes, you only have 5. I do not take into consideration excused or unexcused. Every absence counts, even if you had valid documentation. So save your 5 absences. Documentation, however, is important. When you are absent and you miss a major test, I will allow you to make up the missed test. But the absence still counts. Even though you have valid documentation, if you're absent and you miss a major test, you are allowed to communicate with me and make up the missed test. But the absence still counts. Again, that's when documentation is very important, when you're missing those major tests. The absence will always count no matter what. Athletes, when you are away at a game, those absences do count. Save those absences for school-related events. So when you arrive to class, generally I give an attendance portion of the class, and I'll go back to your Blackboard course and show you that. The button is here, attendance, and you will see that I will do this the first day of class. Make sure you have your smart devices, and I will actually start a check-in. And when I start the check-in, there will be, I think, a 4-digit number that you have to type into your Blackboard course with me, using your cellular device, your smart device, using your, and here it says starting student check-in will allow students to check in on their own devices through a web browser, but will prevent you from manually taking attendance. A 4-digit PIN number will be given, and in general, at the beginning of the semester, I give like 3 minutes. So if your class starts at 11, I start check-in at 11 and it runs to 11:03. And then when check-out or check-in is actually completed, you will not be able to check in as being present for the class. And you will see this demonstrated every class period. I would like to tell you that you will not be allowed to check in the hallway as you're trying to rush to the classroom because you're afraid that you're going to be late or maybe you're already late. You can only check in once you enter the classroom and your device is ready to go, but not outside the classroom. If you are tardy up to 10 minutes only and you miss check-in, you will be recorded as being absent, because when you miss check-in, even if you're technically tardy, up to 10 minutes tardy, an absence is automatically given to all students that miss check-in. As a matter of fact, an email will be sent to you if you miss check-in. And you may say frantically to your teacher, me, Miss Manhart, they marked me absent and I was tardy. Yes, when you communicate with me that you were indeed tardy, no more than 10 minutes, after the class, I will come back to my office and I will go into this particular feature of Blackboard and I will change your absence to a tardy. But you still will receive the email. You can disregard the email concerning being absent when you were actually tardy. The email will be sent to you because you missed the check-in. If you are more than 10 minutes late and you missed check-in, obviously, that remains an absence. If you communicate with me through email that you will be needing to leave class early by no more than 10 minutes, then I will go in after class and mark you, even though initially you come to class on time and you check in and you're present. I will know if you walk out of the classroom with communication that you're having to leave early, no more than 10 minutes. I will just mark you tardy. If you walk out of my classroom for whatever reason during class lecture, for 1 minute, 2 minutes, anywhere up to 10 minutes, and you don't have communication with me after the fact of why you had to exit, I leave it as an absence. If you do have to leave the classroom for an emergency situation, no more than 10 minutes, I expect some type of communication. I expect you to send me an email after class, stop by my desk after class, and in general say, I'm sorry for stepping out, Miss Manhart, I had a situation, as professional courtesy. Then I will not mark you absent. That policy is stated in the syllabus. Early departure from class without prior approval will be treated as an absence. Simply signing the roll and then leaving class is unacceptable, and I'll mark you absent. Leaving class, even if you step out for whatever reason, and then returning to the class later, is also unacceptable. It's disruptive to others and will be treated as an absence. If you have a health issue regarding this matter and you need to step out, I'll need a doctor's note in advance to keep on file. You cannot sign the roll for another student. It's academic misconduct. It will be treated as an absence for you and the student signing for you. Other consequences of Campbell University's academic misconduct policy will apply. Now here's the saving grace. If you communicate with me, the instructor, through email or office visit, and discuss a valid reason for walking out of the class, no more than 10 minutes. If you walk out of the class and you're gone for more than 10 minutes, even if you come back, it stays an absence, even if you communicate. But no more than 10 minutes, you had to excuse yourself from class. With valid communication, email I prefer, either before or after the fact, after the class, or you can say something to me after the class. Others will be listening, and you may want to keep that information private, so sending an email is best. With communication, if you have to leave for an emergency, no more than 10 minutes, I will not mark you absent, I promise. It is when there is no communication, when you abruptly walk out, come back, whatever, within a short period of time, when you have no communication with me whatsoever, it remains an absence. Please know this policy. I beg of you to know this policy. It's very important in large classes that 8, 10 people are not leaving the class and then coming back with doors opening and closing 20 times, distracting others, paying tuition, distracting those people from taking notes, and distracting those people from concentrating or being able to hear what I'm saying and see what I'm writing down on the document camera. This is a note. I am not asking you to raise your hand and ask me to leave the classroom. You are adults. You may think that this policy is for children. It is not. This policy is necessary to maintain order and structure in such a large classroom, and professionalism. That's what's most important, and respect. Respect is very important. Do not raise your hand. If at any time you have a situation and you truly have to exit, exit. Yes, I will be marking it down that you had to leave the classroom. I will be observing how long you were gone if you ever come back. If you communicate with me after the fact or before the class, letting me know you had to leave no more than 10 minutes early, if you're leaving early, no more than 10 minutes, I'll mark it as a tardy. If you're communicating with me, you had an emergency and you're only gone for a minute or so, I'm not marking it as an absence. But do not raise your hand. I don't wish for others to know your personal information. I don't even need to know the details. But out of respect and being professional, I need communication to say that everything is okay and I'm not going to mark you down. If I mark you down for anything, even after you communicate, it may be a tardy, and that means because you're leaving early. Or you came in late and you communicated with me, so you're tardy. I can go on and on, but let me continue with the rest of the attendance policy. If you check your attendance within Blackboard, and you will always be able to do so because you can visit this attendance button yourself and see your attendance at any time. Remember, you can have no more than 5 and all absences count. And you feel like there is a mistake. You only have 2 days, not 2 class periods. I prefer the same day that you think there's been a mistake made, as well as communicating with me about why you're walking out of my class. It's either got to be same day communication, email, office hour visit, phone call, something, or next day. If it goes beyond 2 days, same day, next day, then I'm not going to change the attendance. It's going to remain as you see it. So you do not have a whole lot of time to communicate. You are given same day and next day, and that is it. Okay? Now, the next item in the syllabus has to deal with technology. I'm just basically going to sum it up as this. You can have your technology to take attendance, and that's at the beginning of class. In general, you can have your technology to take pop quizzes through My Stat Lab, and I'll show you that now. I'm going to click on My Stat Lab. Once you're registered, and you can register by going into your Blackboard course, clicking on My Stat Lab and clicking here, My Stat Lab Course Home. By the way, I do have some tips if you need to adjust your iPhones or your smartphones or your Samsung device or your laptops, setting up devices so that you can actively participate in these quizzes. For the first couple of class periods, I'm not going to take the grades on these. I'm going to actually have like trial runs so that you can make sure your device is working. Always come to class with your device fully charged. Make sure that if there have been any updates, that it did not change the settings, it did not affect your pop-ups and your cookies and things like that. After the trial period, I would say after next week, I'm going to take the grades regardless if you're prepared or not to take the particular quizzes. So I'm waiting for your StatLab course to open. And sometimes this will happen. Don't stress out. Sometimes this will happen. What I'm going to do is go back to your Blackboard course. I'm going to close that out. And I'm going to try going into your course again. I will say that if my StatLab is down for everybody, including me, then obviously I'm not going to be able to give you a pop quiz that particular day of class. But see, now that I went back in or I refreshed, I was able to go into the actual MyStatLab course. This is what your MyStatLab course looks like. I changed the course logo from time to time to give you a new scripture or new quote to motivate you. Faith can move mountains. Matthew 17:20. I love that one. So I'll be changing these from time to time. You have several items available in MyStatLab, and I believe I was trying to talk with you about your particular quizzes and when you can have technology and when you cannot in the classroom. And again, attendance, which is taken from Blackboard here under the attendance button. Quizzes are taken within MyStatLab. Now, I synced MyStatLab that you purchase into your overall Blackboard course. So the main course is Blackboard, and I was able to sync the two courses together, and I highly recommend you enter MyStatLab through your Blackboard course and do not use something called a Blackboard app. They say sometimes that causes difficulty, especially if you're on your phone. So I highly recommend, especially if you're doing your assignments at home, go in through your laptop, go to your Blackboard course, Campbell University website, Blackboard course, log in, and then go into your MyStatLab button and go here. And obviously that's going to take you back to your home page, which looks like this. Until you register in MyStatLab, until you're actually in my class, you're not going to be able to see any of these. You're not going to be able to participate in class, especially day one with the pop quizzes. So the pop quizzes are given here. They're called Learning Catalytics. As the student, you cannot start those on your own, and you have to take them in the classroom. You cannot take them outside of the classroom. I have 27 loaded, or 27 loaded. We may have all 27 this semester. You are not able to see this as the student. I will have to physically go into the classroom and click on the one that I want to deliver. You're not able to see this. I start the session. You still do not see anything as the student. When I decide to start the session and deliver the session, this is what you see. And you will have something that says join now. If you don't have something that says join now, and this is what I see as the teacher, I see everybody's responses, and I will definitely delete this particular round, because when I close this out, everybody in the class that's currently in MyStatLab will receive a 0. Don't get upset. Don't email me. I'm going to delete the data, and you should not see those zeros. I would have to stop the delivery and stop the session. This is called a word cloud, and in the word cloud, you just give me your opinion of the quote or scripture, as long as it's professional, respectful. If you disagree with a quote, as long as it's professional, respectful, your comment can be listed, and you'll receive a 100 if it's just a one-question quiz like this one. Student view before you join looks like this. You may be able to click on join. Some of you may actually have to enter the session ID. and the session ID is this. So you may have to enter that into your cell phone or your laptop in order to join. And then you'll be able to submit your word, and all the words start coming in. And a lot of times I like to show you what words are coming in. I don't show you the students and their grades, but the terms that are coming in. So I'm going to stop delivery, and you'll see this same particular pop quiz day 1 of class. I'm going to go back to results, and I am going to go to, and these are the people that are already in the classroom, and it may be showing up very soon that you received zeros. Please don't think you got a 0. I'm deleting the data now for that pop quiz. I don't have any results, but I'm going to delete the data anyway. That means that even if now that you're in the course and you can see the grade book, you should not see zeros show up. And then also when I go through the trial period, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to delete the grades and the data through next week. But after that, the grades count. So this is what a learning catalytic looks like from my end as your teacher. And you cannot see the grade book here. As a matter of fact, going back to your MyStatLab course, I did not make the grade book for you to be able to see as a student. I hid that from you. The only items that you can see would be the course homepage, which is this, the student solution manual to all the odd problems or all the problems in your textbook, your e-text. You can actually go to your e-textbook here if you need to, and you can click on a particular chapter. I don't want to go there because it may take some time to load. You can go to your assignments that are for a grade. There's a calendar there. There's also a multimedia library, videos and PowerPoints if you need those to learn. The MyStatLab are graded assignments. When you click on it, you will see as the student what's due the first test, February the 6th at 8 o'clock online. And there is an orientation homework, like I said. And these are multiple choice, unlimited attempts. I'm not going to click on it, but if you click on it, it will start the test for you. Once you finish, then the grades will be obviously eventually synced down to your Blackboard gradebook. They go to your MyStatLab gradebook, but eventually you will see them here under My Grades. So going back to Blackboard, when you click on My Grades, everything that you take within MyStatLab, within Blackboard, any graded assignments, the grades will be listed here. So it looks like a lot of information for the semester, but those grades are downloaded to your Blackboard gradebook. So you can view your grades and your attendance at any time. Do give MyStatLab a little bit of time to sync those grades. So if we have a pop quiz in class, give me some time to go back to the office and make sure that those are syncing correctly to your Blackboard gradebook. It does not do it instantaneously. And I say that because students sometimes send me these very quick emails saying that I received a 0, but I did not. I received a 100, Miss Manhart, and my gradebook is showing a 0. Obviously, you're not giving it enough time to sync down. And that's mainly with these learning catalytics that you're going to take in the classroom. You have to give me time to go back to the office, go into Blackboard, and make sure that those are syncing down to your Blackboard gradebook. So do give me some time. As well as when you take these assignments and you submit your answers, it may take a little bit of time for the gradebook in MyStatLab to sync down to the gradebook in Blackboard so that you can see your true grade. Now, after time, obviously, If the grade doesn't make sense and you know you made a 100 or a 90 and Blackboard is showing a bad grade or a low grade of 0 and you know you made a 100, contact me definitely over time if you think there's a mistake. But do give it a few hours to sink down correctly. Chapter practice tests are not for a grade. They are also online. They are open for the entire semester now. You can see those and take those at any time, unlimited attempts. I believe I made it where you could print those, and I made the date that they all become unavailable May 1st, which is the day of your final test, test 4. They turn off at 8 o'clock. But you can practice those. They're not for a grade. They will ultimately, if you decide to practice those, don't be alarmed. You will see what your grade happens to be in your grade book here in Blackboard. They're the last 4 items. If it remains a dash here, I'm not going to be upset as your teacher. That just means that you decided the practice tests were not for you, and these are practice tests in my stat lab, and they're multiple choice, and they basically give you your result right away, and it's synced down to your grade book. But these are not part of your final grade in this course. Again, they're found here. These practice tests that are within my stat lab, which are not for a grade, are not to be confused with some other practice tests that I have. I have my very own practice tests, which are old tests, in Blackboard. So if you go here, back to Blackboard, there's a Blackboard practice test button. These are old tests, and what I do is I give you a hard copy of the practice test here under the button. These are not for a grade. These you don't submit online, the practice tests that are found in Blackboard. These are just for you to print off, take a look at the answers, watch the corresponding YouTube video. So I have practice test 1 and practice test 2, practice test 3, and you'll keep drilling in. You drill in again, or they're nested. There's the hard copy of the practice test. And that was an old test I gave back in the fall of 2011. When you go to your YouTube lectures, these lectures happen to be me, your teacher. And you can find that practice test under the first test, material, vocabulary, and measures of data. I give you formula sheets as hard documents. I actually print these off and bring formula sheets to class, which that's one thing I forgot to mention. As long as people are being very honest in the classroom when you take a pop quiz with me, learning catalytic, as long as people are not sharing devices, you're not sharing lecture notebooks or formula sheets, and you're prepared to take your quiz with your own notes, your own class notes, the formula sheets that you bring with you in your notebook, you can use your notebook for these learning catalytics only, not major tests, but for learning catalytics. If people start to cheat and abuse the privilege of having the notebook for these learning catalytics, I will actually revoke the privilege for the entire class, and you will not have anything to take the pop quizzes. So I highly recommend you have a notebook that's organized, and you have your formula sheets, and you're prepared to take these learning catalytics so that you can have a very good grade with these pop quizzes. Again, very organized. Going back to the YouTube videos, eventually if you scroll down, you'll see where I start posting the videos. For every hard copy of notes that I give on vocabulary, for example, for the hard copy of the lectures on averages, measures of variation, measures of position, I provide my video. And it is me doing exactly what I'm doing here in the orientation video. Well, not exactly. I actually work out the problems using the document camera. I use the document camera to write down the actual problems and show you how to actually I go through the lecture notes, and then when it comes to the practice test and I make a YouTube video, you can see me going through the practice test. Again, it's my test. And for example, even if you don't want to watch the videos that deal with the lectures, you can, and often students say that I did watch the video, Miss Manhart, dealing with the practice test. And it takes you into YouTube. This is practice test number 1. I use my calculator and show you how to actually do the problems. So I'm going to close. But basically, that's what these YouTube videos are all about. I have lectures in here. They are my lectures. And I actually have videos. Now, everything you see here under the YouTube lecture button, I want to tell you this. There's something called a pre-lecture notebook and the YouTube lecture. A lot of this is repetitive in terms of the lecture notes I provide. If you just noticed, the YouTube button is broken into the 4 different tests that you'll have: vocabulary, normal distribution, confidence intervals, hypothesis testing. Every time you click on a chapter or a test material item, first thing you will see will be formulas and lecture notes as hard copies. Eventually, again, when you scroll down, you'll see all the YouTube videos that pertain to that test 1 material, or test 2 material, or test 3, or test 4. And I also provide the hard copy of the notes again. If you don't care to watch the videos and you don't want to go to your YouTube video lecture button, you could also receive the same lecture notes here under the pre-lecture notebook. And I have divided that button, or the pre-lecture notebook button, if you drill into it, into part 1 and part 2. Part 1 covers tests 1 and 2. Part 2 covers tests 3 and 4. Again, these are the same lecture notes that you see in the YouTube videos and the YouTube button here. I give those same hard copies. The only difference is with the pre-lecture notebook, when you click on the document, instead of having so many individual hard copies of lecture notes, you will see one document pertaining to test 1 and test 2, and you'll have a continuous string of lecture notes. It takes a moment to load. Not exactly know how long it takes, but it does take a moment to load. Here we go. You can see the progress. Now, once it loads, you can scroll down and you'll be able to scroll through the pages. You do not have to access the lecture notes this way. I call it a pre-lecture notebook because this is mainly designed for those students that take summer classes with me, and they have to read the lecture before they come to class. And we lecture on the material. When they read the lecture the night before, when they come to class the next day, I just work problems and I do not lecture on that material. They were supposed to read it or watch the video the night before. It looks like tonight, and I am recording this video late at night, it looks like it wants to be kind of slow in the loading process. It's not always this slow, but I'm going to close out for the purpose of the orientation video. Again, the reason it's slow is because it's in 2 parts and it's listing all the lecture notes here. So I have those same lecture notes spread out here under different items. And they're different documents. And the beauty of the pre-lecture notebook is it's a continuous, beautiful, organized notebook already. If you wanted to print it out and punch holes in it, you'd have your notebook. basically, but it's a lot of paper to have to print out. As individual documents, it's not as organized. That's why I decided to scan it as a great lecture notebook with order and organization. But again, it did take me a little bit of time to load it. That is completely up to you if you want to view those lecture notes or not. It depends on your style of learning. I have PowerPoints that are available for those of you that think that you need to study the PowerPoints. I have other items that are available, and you can basically customize your own learning style. For inspiration, or weekly devotions, I did provide the weekly devotions from the Campbell University site. When you click on a devotion, it takes you to the Campbell University site of weekly devotions, and you can read the devotions they post, and it does list the most recent devotions. If you click on inspirational quotes, these are quotes that you're going to see from me throughout the semester. You may see these in Learning Catalytics. You may see them in the actual Stat Lab course, my Stat Lab course. I'll change the quotes here. But these are very inspirational. Some are quotes, some are scriptures. At the very end, I have one of my favorite YouTube videos. Actually, two of those. It Is Well With My Soul, and that's a YouTube video. It's music. It's beautiful. At any time, if you need encouragement, you can visit this button. I hope that it puts a smile on your faces. And then that's pretty much it in terms of what's available inside of Blackboard, what's available within your Stat Lab course, and what you're going to be responsible for. Going back to the syllabus, if you have your technology out after I say put it away, or even if I forget to say put it away, you're only going to have it out to take your attendance and take the Learning Catalytic. You should know to put it away after those. Most of the time I like to say, please put those items away. If I catch you sleeping in class, or if I catch you having your earbuds in during testing or lecture, if I catch you with your devices out, I'm going to have a seating chart, so I'll know these things. Definitely your names and your faces, and those people that are breaking the rules and the policies, those that are walking out of class. I'll know everything. With the seating chart and just beginning to learn your names and your faces, there are three items that will happen as a penalty for any of these. 10-point deduction in an upcoming major test grade. A grade of 0 for any Learning Catalytic or paper quiz we take that day, and you'll also be marked absent. So a very, very strict policy with having those devices out when you're not supposed to. Obviously, there's a reason people with their devices during lecture, unfortunately, they're on Facebook, they're playing games, they're on Instagram, they're working on another course. So obviously that's why the remaining of the classroom period or time with lecture, you'll have to exit out of those items. During a major test day, do not be alarmed, but you're going to have to put your cell phones at the front of the classroom. If I see your cell phone with you on a major test day, you automatically fail the test. Even if you have it in your lap, under your desk, on a major test day, if your cell phone is found anywhere nearby, or if I see that you're trying to use your smart watch or any other smart device, you fail immediately. But I do make the students, you guys, put the cell phones at the front of the classroom on silent or vibrate. The other things that I list here about academic integrity and cheating, obviously, there's a heavy penalty for it. I give the homework from the textbook, but you don't have to turn these items in. These are items that you can take to a tutor. You can take those practice tests, by the way, under the practice test button. The practice test that I give you a hard copy of, you could take those to a tutor. Anything that's not for a grade, you're allowed to take to the tutor. And these items are certainly great items to take to the tutor. You can see how I divided those items up by chapter and test. If you have students with accommodations or students that want to receive free tutoring, if you need to go to free academic counseling, you want to go over to Student Success. If you need free counseling or free tutoring, it's through Student Success, and I highly recommend all of those services. They are wonderful people to work with. However, do not bring your graded assignments to your tutoring session. It's cheating. They'll turn you in. They probably will not even help you because they don't work with students that have those devices. And they will turn you in. So, no cheating on items that are graded, part of your final grade in the course. No working together. You can only come and see me in the office, and we can work together. Items that you need are listed here. Important dates to remember are here if you think that you may need to drop the course. The last day to drop the course without a grade is January 31st. The last day to drop the course, which is after spring break, with just a grade of W, and you'll know your midterm grade by that point. You definitely want to pay attention to March 19th. Because if you're failing at midterm, excuse me, and you can drop the course and drop those hours. Definitely speak with your advisor. Don't just drop the course. And you're able to drop with a grade of W because you need to get out while you still can. Then that decision has to be made by March the 19th. And then we have some calendar days like or holidays, Good Friday, reading day, no classes, and then final exam week. Here are some more rules. No earbuds. Again, there's a stipulation here about devices. I do want to mention about bringing entire complete meals from the Chinese restaurant, from Marshbanks, from Hardee's, McDonald's, from Subway, Pizza Hut. Bringing complete meals during the lecture is not allowed. During testing is not allowed. Bringing a snack is not allowed unless you need to have a snack according to your doctor, and I'll need a doctor's note. I will allow all students to bring in a bottle of water as long as you're careful not to damage the equipment in the classroom and the electronics. You can have your water or your coffee, things like that. There cannot be any tobacco products in the class. Obviously, no smoking is very obvious. You cannot smoke. But there are other tobacco products you cannot use. It's illegal, actually. And that's something I would have to turn you in for. So, again, I didn't mention tobacco products here. But no eating complete meals. It's distracting. You're not taking notes if you have out a knife and a fork or a huge foot-long sub in front of you. You may want to laugh at this point, but I've had all of this happen, hence the rules. And the more these things happen, you would think it would be common sense that you would not do that as a level of respect and professionalism. But the more these things happen, the more rules. Again, you cannot use the calculator on your phone or your smartwatch when you're testing. Or in lecture for that matter, because you're going to have to put your smart devices away. And only one calculator is allowed for testing. I think you should have a TI 8384 because I will be teaching you how to use the calculator. TI 8483 will do a lot of the statistics that you have to do this semester. I'll also be teaching you the material by hand and how to do it by hand. Favorite scripture is listed here, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And you see that on the very home page here of your Blackboard course. Everything is pretty much done. I only have one final item that I need to discuss, and it's very important. It deals with these pre-lecture notes or these lectures that are my lecture notes in YouTube, or eventually I will make it where you will be able to see the Tegrity lecture capture button. You cannot see it now. As a student registered in the course, you're in Blackboard, and therefore you can also go to Tegrity. These same Tegrity lecture videos I actually like to make YouTube videos. So the Tegrity videos and the YouTube videos are here if you prefer to go through YouTube and not the Tegrity button. If you go through Tegrity button, once I allow you to see that, you can see here that I'm making your orientation video now. Other videos that are listed are all of those that are currently within YouTube. Some students say that they look better, they sound better in YouTube. That's why I went to I took on the task of making these YouTube videos. But currently you cannot see the Tegrity lecture capture button. But once you do, this is what you'll see. I'm also going to finish up this video and I'm going to make it available for you to see. And I'm going to upload it to the YouTube course or to the YouTube videos. I'm also going to make mention of it here under orientation. I'm going to post it as the first item, your orientation video, so that you can watch the orientation if you need to know the rules or any of this information at any time. You can watch the video. And yes, you can rewind and fast forward when you watch these videos if you're in YouTube or if you are in Tegrity. You can fast forward either place. Rewind, pause, anything you need to do there when you watch the videos. The item that I wanted to mention is this. As you watch my videos and as you go through my pre-lecture notebook, you will see this statement. I created all of the lecture notes in the pre-lecture notebook and the YouTube videos, the hard copy of the notes that you see. I created those in the older edition of a textbook before we moved to Pearson. We were in Blooming. There are some subtle differences there. I state the differences between the two textbooks. And I do that in case you're following the hard copy of the pre-lecture notebook or the hard copy of the notes here. In the actual YouTube videos that you watch, those changes are already made in the video, and I talk about those changes in the video if you decide to watch the video. And I'm going to be in Pearson. You are going to be graded based upon your performance in the current edition of the textbook that you had to purchase. The My Stat Lab is coming from Pearson. So I'm going to test you according to Pearson. And when you watch the videos, I do have the old Blooming notes, the old textbook notes posted, and you'll see the notes, but you won't see the Pearson changes unless you're watching the video. If you're not watching the video, I strongly recommend that you pay attention to the changes just by viewing the document, how they make subtle changes. And for example, in the old edition of Blooming, if you're looking at the old copy of the hard copy of my notes, you're going to see in Blooming the definitions were in Chapter 1, but now in Pearson, the definitions are still in Chapter 1. And the only difference in terms of vocabulary is that in Blooming, they did not mention something called a uniform distribution. Pearson mentions something called a uniform distribution, and we're going to talk about it in class, and I talk about it in the YouTube video. But the hard copy of the notes, you will not be able to see uniform distribution if you're following the old notes from Blooming. Chapter 3 is all about measures of data. Chapter 2 in Pearson is measures of data. The only major difference between the old and the new in terms of the old notes, and I do discuss the change in the video with the notes, is they do use a slightly different percentile rank formula. I will require you to use Pearson's percentile rank formula. Again, I'm going to be giving you formula sheets from Pearson all throughout the course, and you'll see the percentile rank formula that I wish for you to use. The the problem is, and it's not really a problem because it's not a major difference. The problem is when you are just looking at the hard copy of the notes. And please forgive me if I'm going back and forth too much. All of this is within your course. And I was already there. If you're not watching the YouTube video and you're just clicking on, for example, vocabulary, or the measures of percentile rank is actually found here. If you're just looking at the hard copy of the notes and not watching the YouTube video and not coming to class and paying attention, I always talk about the changes, by the way, in the class. I always talk about the changes within the video. It looks like it's slow to... Here we go. There we go. So this is from Bloomin', but I made a YouTube video, and in the YouTube video, as I covered these same notes from Bloomin', this is from the section on measures of position, and I cover the topic called percentile rank. This formula on percentile rank is in Bloomin', and it is different from the percentile rank formula in Pearson. It's not a big deal. When I go through the YouTube video and when I go through percentile rank in class, you'll know the current formula in Pearson. Again, if you think about it, it's not a major change. That's the only change with that particular chapter on measures of data. Is everything else is the same, all the other formulas are the same. The only thing that differs is the percentile rank formula. This is the statement that I like to make with my students. If you are not able to follow and understand the changes from Bloomin' to Pearson, and they're very subtle changes, again, very subtle. If you're not able, and you'll be coming to class and watching those videos to see those subtle changes, but you're not making the connection and you're not understanding how there's subtle changes, then do not watch. Well, you can watch the YouTube video, but do not look at the hard copy of the notebook. Do not look at the hard copy of the notes from Bloomin'. You're going to get confused. If you still want to watch the video because I'm talking about Pearson in the video and the changes like I do in the classroom, do that. But if you're just looking at the hard copy of the notes that I make available, like these, and you're not watching the video, you may want to say to yourself, I'm too confused. I'm not going to look at these ahead of time. And that's up to you. You can still be a successful student in my class by coming to class, taking good lecture notes in class, which are from Pearson, going back to your home, library, wherever you do your work, and you will be successful in taking your MyStatLab assignments. And you'll be successful in taking your pop quizzes inside the classroom. The design of my Blackboard course with everything extra is to help the student that needs, and a lot of us do, I need a lot of examples. I need hard copies of notes, and I need videos. So the videos are designed for those of you that perhaps you miss class a lot, which I hope you don't miss more than 5 because you automatically fail the course. Or those of you that need that upper hand. You need to see that whole lecture notebook in detail. You need to watch that video. But it's not mandatory. The only thing that is mandatory is basically what I said in the syllabus as part of how you're graded, the evaluation. I went too far. Is this 65% test average, 20% my stat lab average, and 15% pop quizzes. And you can be successful by just going into the textbook, coming to class, taking good notes, being a good student, practicing outside of class. And you can be successful if you just want to take some of these homework problems from the textbook and practice those, the Pearson textbook. Or go and do your practice test here, which are my old tests, or do your practice tests within the actual My Stat Lab course. You can design your own way of learning when you're outside of the classroom. The main thing is that you're going to have to practice and that we're using Pearson. And you need to be organized and have a nice notebook so that when I bring formulas and things like that to class, you can insert those in your notebook and you can use those on your pop quizzes. That is the conclusion of the orientation video. I will be talking about many of these things again tomorrow, but there's no way that I can devote this much time in class tomorrow. I appreciate you watching the orientation video. If you have any questions about what I've stated in the video or what I state for the very first day of class in terms of policies and procedures and what is expected of you and how you can master this course and how everything ties together with your syllabus, please do not hesitate to ask. I'm very approachable. Come to office, send me an email. I will be more than happy to explain to you how you can be successful in the class if you're not understanding everything that I provided here. We can talk in person and hopefully I can explain it a little bit better and give you a little bit more detail. Thank you. God bless you. And I look forward to meeting every single one of you. And I hope to work closely with all of you and know your names and your faces very well around campus and even at the famous Walmart in Irwin, North Carolina. Don't hide when you see me.